So I think I'd like to do is have Jason Levesque come up here. Jason's running against Mike Misha. We all know Mike. He doesn't have representatives here either.
I'm a little short. There we go. I don't think we're voting for the tallest candidate, right? I'm just French. I can't. You know, first of all, let me apologize. I'm not used to this. I'm not a career politician. I've known a lot of you. We've seen each other. We've been on the campaign trail now since June. Crisscrossed the district, met thousands of people, heard what they're having to say. And because I've heard that, because I've listened, that's going to help me craft my message now for the next 9.5 months in this campaign. It's also going to help me craft legislation and vote on legislation that the people of Maine want. Not what Nancy Pelosi says to vote for. Independent thinkers in this country, or excuse me, in this state. We've sent them to Washington. They've represented well historically. It's time for that representation to come back to Maine. And I plan on being that next person to represent the people of Maine second. Now, let's talk about the problems. Hey, that's why we're here. We have problems. Paul's talked about the problems. A lot of other people will today. Let me just hit on some of the ones at the federal level. First of all, we have an economic crisis. We're looking at one of the largest recessions in U.S. history. We're looking at a jobless recovery, but nobody needs to tell us that on CNN. Just look at Millinocket, 14.5% unemployment. Look at Maine's 2nd District, 10% unemployment. Our average income's going down, while theirs is going up. Let me ask you a question. How many people here make $184,000 a year? Not 184, 184,000. Good try. No, well, yeah, Representative Gifford does. How many of us here have a $1.4 million budget for our congressional offices, or offices? No one. Folks, it's career politicians that's brought us to this point. We have economic crisis. So what do? They pass cap and trade. The largest energy tax of its type ever. They're putting a burden and a yoke on small businesses. 80% of the businesses in Maine are small businesses. How many people here have ever worked for a small business or owned a small business? Yeah. Mike Misha has not. So how can he understand what it takes to build business, to employ people, to make sure that their families are taken care of? How many people here are married, have kids, grandkids, so forth? Yeah, we know what it's like. We do it every single day. We make those hard decisions. What bills do we pay today? Which ones do we push off till next week? And if we're not making enough money, what do? We cut back. Or we try to find a job that pays us more. Has Mike Misha made those tough decisions? No. Why hasn't he? Because he's a career politician. We need more regular people in government. The only way to solve the economic crisis in this country is by building business, supporting business, making sure that entrepreneurs are propped up and idolized, looking at the people who can innovate and complimenting them, encouraging them, teaching our children that it's okay to dream dreams, that those dreams can come true. We're facing a time in our country's history where our tomorrow is duller than our today. The light bulb is going out, folks. The light bulb is going out. And when that light bulb gets dimmer and goes out, there's no turning back. But we do have a chance. We have this election to make a difference. We can turn this economy around by getting smarter, by becoming more competitive in a modern global economy. And we do that by encouraging growth and not burdening them with excessive taxes, over-regulation, and a government that doesn't understand what it takes to build wealth. We have an energy crisis. Any one of us that knows or that puts oil in their oil tank or pays for wood or pays the electric bill understands that utilities and energy is through the roof. It's not getting better. Again, cap and trade. Now, if that doesn't work, let's do a stimulus package. Sure. I'm still waiting for my check. Anybody here get theirs? Yeah, not happening. Don't hold your breath. We need a comprehensive energy policy in this country, one that takes the best that we have to offer, the best technology, the brightest individuals, what we have in abundance: nuclear, domestic oil production, natural gas, looking at renewable, sustainable sources of energy. In my lifetime, I want to be able to know that every time I plug something in the wall, that energy is being produced in Maine, and the extra is going to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York. And they're paying us to produce that energy for them. Maine is not a doormat for cheap Canadian utilities. No. We are not a doormat. The Maine I grew up in, we're a proud people. We're a smart people. We're a people that need to be listened to in Washington and in Augusta. And it's meetings like this that are going to make sure our voices are heard. And folks, let's not forget we have two wars that we're waging right now. There are people out there who want to destroy our way of life. But what does the administration do? When we capture these villains, we give them the same rights they're apt to destroy. So how can we close down Gitmo, bring them to Chicago or wherever, and try them in civilian courts? How can we apply the same rights that we have fought and died to protect to people who are trying to fight and die to destroy? It doesn't make sense, but the administration still does it, and they have the support of Democrats and liberals throughout the country and in Washington backing it up. Common sense eroding. Common sense is eroding. They're living in a magical place over the rainbow that I honestly never want to visit because it doesn't exist. Now, let's do a little comparison and contrast, because I want you to know who I am. I'm not a career politician, I've made that clear. Career politicians do not serve the best interest of Mainers nor Americans. I'm a veteran. I spent 8 years in the U.S. Army. I saw an infantryman back then too. Show of hands real quick. How many of you have served your country or been married to a veteran? Have children in the military now? We expect our legislators to understand what it's like to walk in those boots if they've never done it themselves. How do they know what it's like to go into combat without the funding necessary to protect themselves? How can we send our men and women into harm's way without listening to what they need to accomplish a mission? Why did President Obama take 10 months to sit on whether or not he was going to send in more troops to Afghanistan to end this war instead of dragging it out for another generation?